Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire, streaming out live here at 21stcenturywire.com, alternatecurrentradio.com, BitChute, Rumble, X, YouTube. Welcome to the program. It is October the 5th, 2025. I'm Bryan McClain, aka Hesher, sitting in for Patrick Henningsen here while Patrick's out on assignment. Hopefully, we'll be able to connect with him over a audio or video link from wherever he may be this Sunday. We'll be looking for him to drop in. I'm also going to be joined by Adam Clark, aka Ruckus, as well as Basil Valentine, if all goes to plan, and it looks like it shall today. So you probably caught last week's episode. We had a live conversation with some of our colleagues that were aboard the humanitarian aid flotilla heading for Gaza. And we're definitely going to have to give some updates on that. You can see in the background here, unfortunately, God, if I could stand in front of this guy, it might look better. There we go. Yeah, we don't want to look at that guy. Actually, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting program here, getting the update on that. Hope everybody's well out there, and it's been a bit of a crazy media week. My goodness, current events media, almost a torrent, So luckily, there's a lot of good articles up at 21stcenturywire.com. We might reference a few of those actually as well. But yes, to get right to it, the eventuality that we discussed last week with our guests aboard the flotilla has come to pass. And yes, it looks like those people have been detained. And we're going to see what we can find out about that detainment, what it looks like, what the members of the Israeli government are saying, and more. So, I can't say I'm surprised. I don't think they were either. If, as you saw last week, they've been, doing drills, running drills, rehearsing, and preparing for that potential, which was getting basically crossing that line in the water. The line in the water was crossed as far as Ben Gvir and Netanyahu and Israel are concerned. And let's face it, most of the Western governments are concerned. Not seeing a lot of speaking out about it from Western governments, seeing a lot of speaking out about it from people on social media and citizens of Western governments. That seems to just be a growing groundswell right there, especially after 2 years. I mean, we are 2 days away from the 2-year anniversary of October 7. So a lot of people are tired of seeing the dead babies and the dead women and all that stuff in their feeds. It's just gone on too long. So there's definitely a groundswell happening on social media and in the public, but of course, Western media not covering it much, and the ones that are well, I don't even know if they're actually covering it as far as mass media goes, and even some of the probably inaccurately labeled independent or alternative news sites also seen some pretty bad takes out there on certain channels. But yeah, so let me go ahead and bring Adam Clark into the stage here. We've got Ruckus with us. Ruckus, what's up? Welcome to the Sunday Wire. I feel like we just did this last night or something. Were we doing a different show last night? I think one called Boiler Room, maybe.
Was that last night? Man,
Can you believe that?
time is a funny thing, especially as the years go by, which is another funny thing. Yeah. What's not so funny of a thing is what's going on right now with this current situation that you just described. Isn't it interesting and strange and surreal all at the same time? Previous instances where one young lady who seems to love to get herself in trouble all the time in the name of various causes, as it were, Greta Thunberg, is always seen smiling and happy and laughing and being quite jovial during the whole being arrested process during her previous climate justice stuff. But she doesn't look like she's having a good time now.
Yeah.
Not at all. And we're going to get into it, but we've heard some very, very disturbing reports that, not the least of which are surprising to me because whether or not I vocalized them on air or inside of comments somewhere, I'm pretty sure most of us were thinking it as soon as those people were taken that they are going to make an example, as it were, out of that young lady. And here we are. It's just a terrible situation. But thank you for having me. I'm pleased to hear that we'll be joined by some others here shortly so that you and I don't have to both carry the entire thing here because there's a lot of things to discuss and some of us might get emotional. Some of us might lose our minds, understanding that are we really defending Greta Thunberg? Because that in itself is strange to say. So there's a lot to be dealing with on this program today. Actually, there'll be laughter, there'll be tears, there'll probably be some sweat. I'm starting to feel some of that right now. It's still hot in Texas, folks. Again, I'm glad to be here, and shout out to everyone in all the various chat rooms and everything. We see you and we love you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we'll do our best. We're kind of managing a lot of stuff here today, but it's great to see you out there in the chats on Rumble and YouTube and in the Boiler Room Discord as well. It's sort of a alternate current radio's little in-house chat, if you will. We'll see how much longer Discord's around, though. My goodness, Discord's been very much demonized lately in certain events yet again, but we'll put that on the shelf for now because Discord is rolling great. I see a bunch of our people in there. What's up, Wireheads? It's great to see you over there and on all the chats. We'll definitely be featuring some of your comments a little bit later in the show here. But Ruckus, so this, I'm just going to read this really quick. This is from the Global Sumud Flotilla IG page, and they've got a couple of infographics here for us just as a overhead update. The Adala lawyers report participants reported various forms of mistreatment and aggression from the prison guards. So we've got, here's their update here in the description. Update on detained participants. We continue to receive updates from Adala lawyers regarding our volunteers abducted in international waters and illegally detained in Israeli prisons. Lawyers have not yet been able to meet all participants, but will do so in the coming days. As verified information becomes available, we will share further updates. So you can follow that account on multiple social media platforms. There is a couple more slides in here. Let me bring Basil Valentine into the conversation as well. Hello, Basil. Welcome to the Sunday Wire. It's great to see you today. I got you. It looks like you're muted there, my friend.
Sorry. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to be with you, and hello to everyone all around the world tuning in.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really glad you're able to be here with us, Basil. We're just going through the Global Sumud Flotilla update here from the Adala lawyers, and it looks like you joined just in time because they're basically saying that, hey, there's various forms of mistreatment and aggression from the prison guards. Lawyers haven't been able to speak with the prisoners yet, and medications are being withheld in some cases, and a lack of access to clean drinking water. Basil, I'm afraid that might be the least of some of their concerns from what we know about these Israeli prisons.
Yeah, I mean, however bad they've got it, I can promise you the Palestinians have got it far, far worse. The ones in the torture gulag, I don't think any of the flotilla activists, I certainly hope not. I spoke to both Ty Kiki and Frank Romano during the week. And of course, we spoke to Ty and Iara last weekend. I don't think any of them are being raped to death anally, which of course has happened to a number of Palestinians. But nevertheless, Israel takes pride in abusing people. The Adala Legal Aid Organization, which represents activists, says National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's comments about being proud of the harsh treatment of the participants are an active endorsement of inhumane treatment, abuse, and intimidation. But we shouldn't be surprised by that. We know that Ben-Gvir is a demonic sadist. He is simply being true to his colors. What's appalling is the lack of not only outcry, but material support from diplomats, from those that have been, let's remember, kidnapped in international waters in what was an act of piracy. From a legal standpoint, the flotilla was attempting to enforce the dictates of the World Court, which said that no impediment must be allowed to the free flow of aid into the Gaza Strip. That was nearly 2 years ago. That was in January 2024 that their interim advisory ruling was that there was genocide. Since then, we've had, innumerable human rights organizations coming out and saying the same thing, including the United Nations Commission of Inquiry. But really, we can use our own eyes and ears to see what's been going on in Gaza. So anyway, they were trying to enforce international law. The Israelis broke it again. But crucially, where was the material support from the so-called global community? The Italians, only because of the enormous pressure from their own population, from the near general strike that took place the week before, the protests in Genoa, at the ports, all over the country, really. They sent 2 warships out, supposedly to protect the flotilla, but they cleared off as soon as they got into the orange zone. So did the Spanish, so did the Turks, although the Turks did give them some food and water. I saw pictures of supplies being transferred from Turkish warships to the flotilla. All that will have been stolen, as have the boats, from what one can tell. And really, the international outcry about this latest, breach of international law should be much, much louder.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you joined, Basil. I was mentioning that, like, what we're seeing in the mass media, the mainstream media, is appalling, an appalling lack of coverage, first of all, mostly. And then when you do see outlets covering it, it is like, it's just missing all of the key words, like the one you used there, kidnapped in international waters, for example. Like that is a headline level term that is very true. And I have not seen that in any mainstream headlines. And I've even seen a couple of unhinged, sort of semi-independent, semi-alternative voices out there on certain channels saying that it's fake. I've literally seen people saying that this is a hoax, it isn't happening. I mean, are you kidding? There's like between 80 and 100 people, I think over 100 people that were rounded up from those boats. That's a lot of people, and it's an international group of people. It's people from multiple countries, to include American military veterans. I mean, what? American military veterans kidnapped on the high seas, and just, no, we're not going to talk about that. We'll talk about, Antifa in Portland. We got all this other stuff going on, people acting like the sky's falling here in the United States, while this has gone on in the background. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, a number of headlines said that the activists on the flotilla had been arrested. They haven't been arrested. That suggests that they've committed some sort of crime. They've been illegally kidnapped in international waters. But it's been like this, as we know, for 2 years. The misrepresentation, the endless reframing to suit Israeli narratives. And of course, in Britain over the last few days, we had the Manchester synagogue attack. 2 people were shot dead by the police. I believe a 3rd person was also killed as a result of actions by the attacker. But the wall-to-wall coverage that this incident received was way off the charts. compared to the seriousness of the events themselves. It's worth remembering, too, that an imam from a mosque was stabbed last week. There have been random acts of violence against Muslims in Britain over the last couple of weeks. A Sikh was raped, and beaten up. People believe this is because of the scoundrel Tommy Robinson stoking as much division as he can. But all those attacks on the Southern Asian community are ignored by the corporate media. But as soon as it's an attack on anybody Jewish, then of course the wailing and gnashing of teeth has to go on for days. Not only that, you then get, I was struggling to find the right word there because Brendan O'Neill, you can call him what you like, he writes for Spiked, arch racist, anti-Palestinian Zionist property, now saying that after the Manchester attack, this means anti-Zionism is synonymous with anti-Semitism. There's no distinction between the two. And it's very sinister the way so-called Jewish community leaders have similarly leapt on the bandwagon to say this is all a result of people showing solidarity for Palestinians who are being genocided. I mean, I ask you, even the British government said, hold off the Palestine protests while the Jewish community is grieving, as if people are not capable of, on the one hand, sympathizing for those who were killed in Manchester and also wanting to empathize with the far greater number of people killed in Palestine. Caitlin Johnston, the Australian journalist, wrote an excellent piece about this, saying, how many Palestinians would have to be killed to have knocked the synagogue story off the top of their headlines in The Guardian or the BBC, let alone the Telegraph or the Times, because that same day, I think 100 Palestinians were slaughtered in Gaza. And you have to turn to page 27.
Why is the government?
Sorry.
You have to turn to page 27 to discover that. So, the double standards. Now, I'm going to say something which I hope isn't controversial here, but it's simply a fact. Sorry, my light has just gone out. I've no idea why. Something which is simply a fact. And this has been the case for decades, really. Throughout the so-called Arab-Israeli conflict of the last 70 years, but particularly also with reference to events of the Second World War. And of course, October the 7th being the most egregious recent example. And that's the primacy of Jewish suffering. In other words, if a Jew suffers, if a Jew is killed, this is far more serious globally. This is a much bigger tragedy. This requires far more tears. This requires action. This requires legislation than if anybody else is killed. Anybody, Gentile, Palestinian, let alone Iraqis or people in Sudan. If a Jew is killed, this is really, really serious. Now, this is in line with a lot of Jewish tradition. If you want to look at the Torah, the Talmud, it'll say, the life of a Jew is worth much more than that of a Gentile, quite open about it. And certainly Israeli society views it that way. But we see it reflected in our corporate media. And the last few days in the UK have been a really, really pungent example of that. And I don't know if people can see through it because it's absolutely rammed down their throats. And when it is rammed down their throats to the extent, then it actually, unfortunately, starts to become a thing. The average person actually starts to believe that the death of a single Jewish person is more important, is more newsworthy, is more tragic than the death of 100 Palestinian children. And so we end up in a completely inverted world with no moral absolutes, with no moral compass whatsoever. But obviously, one where one group of people seem to hold sway over the minds of the others, over the zeitgeist, certainly over what the media decides.
Yeah, it's highly frustrating for a lot of people, these things that have been made, I've said this so many times, everything has been made political now. Every single thing has to be political. So to include death, all right? So we can't have any sort of commentary on death or violence or murder without there being a identity politic wrapped around it. And what you're describing right there clearly was felt by British Israeli Jewish journalist Rachel Shabby. She was talking about this exact same thing that you were talking about, Basil. Let me play her comments. I'll get you guys' take on that here. Here she is.
Asking people to choose between the two. Why is the government saying you cannot support Jewish people who are shaken in the aftermath of a terror attack and also support Palestinians experiencing Israel's genocidal war in Gaza? Why is the government saying that people do not have understanding and compassion and empathy in their hearts to do both? I think that's disgraceful and divisive, but also it speaks volumes about the government's limited and frankly facile worldview.
I mean, do you think that the government should be even trying to discourage people from not protesting today? I mean, they've obviously held back from trying to, cancel any protest, but do you think they've gone too far in their discouragement of, what is free speech today?
Of course they have. Of course they have. But it's also outrageous. It's insulting. It's divisive to pit one cause against the other. Again, I would ask, why does the government think people cannot do both? Why does the government think people don't have compassion and understanding enough to support both British Jewish people in this horrifying moment and Palestinian people in Gaza after a horrifying 2 years of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza? What is it that makes the government presume to tell people that they cannot do both? That in itself is outrageous and insulting.
Okay, I've got I don't know why Elon inserted himself into our viewer there.
Big Brother is watching you.
I have no idea.
It looks like an overlay if you want to go there. Okay, there you are.
Yeah,
Anyway,
found it.
she makes a very good point. And of course, it's anti-Semitic. This is the irony of the whole thing, to say that, all Jewish people are somehow upset or offended by people protesting against the Gaza genocide. What a load of nonsense. There's been a very large Jewish bloc at all the demonstrations to date, some of the most vocal opponents of genocide, some of the most prominent anti-Zionists worldwide are Jewish, of course, whether it's Norman Finkelstein or Max Blumenthal, the general's son, of course. So it's scurrilous nonsense. It's really very sinister. We had the so-called chief rabbi who has been in Britain, Mervis, who has been praising the IDF. Yes, this is supposed to be a man of God or something. You would think he would confine himself to purely spiritual matters. But as far as he's concerned, the mass slaughter of Palestinians is also his remit. I believe he has family serving in the IDF, So, and of course, he's pushed forward by the corporate media with this title, Chief Rabbi in the UK, sort of the equivalent of a local Pope, Archbishop, or something like that, as a sort of man of God, as someone whose word must be respected, at all costs. And how dare you speak against the chief rabbi? I saw another rabbi the other day from the, true Torah Jewish community saying what an abomination the state of Israel is, that it has absolutely no right to exist whatsoever. And that is a very large Orthodox Jewish community that hold that view. And of course, amongst young Jewish people, particularly in the United States and also in Europe, they've all become anti-Zionist as well. The Zionists, of course, are propped up by obsequious, brainwashed, propagandized Gentiles like the scoundrel Tommy Robinson or Fraser Myers, Brendan O'Neill, that Douglas Murray character, Alison Pearson, another absolutely dreadful one. And these equally abysmal, morally vapid so-called commentators are amplified in the pages of the Telegraph and the Times and what have you over here.
Yeah, and don't forget all their new influencers, right? We just saw the footage of Netanyahu speaking with, the influencer class and talking about how important both TikTok and X are to keeping the narrative that they want to have in the minds of, in particular, American conservatives. Ruckus, we watched that footage last night in the boiler room, and it's shocking. Like, most people that saw it thought it was a deep fake at first, because it was just like, why would you do this in public? Why would you film this? What, but it's real footage as far as we can tell.
Which one? Because we can say that about everything.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to have that thought about every video now, which is, kind of destroying our media zeitgeist a little bit.
Okay. No, seriously, which video? Which
The
one?
video where Netanyahu was sitting there with the influencers and that blonde gal who said,
Okay.
Charlie Kirk was one of her mentors. What are we going to,
Yeah.
what's
Okay.
Israel
Yeah. No,
going
I
to do
don't.
to keep American conservatives engaged in, supporting Israel?
The only thing shocking about that was what you pointed out in your commentary about the fact that we live in a world where it's anti-Semitic to even suggest or hint at or whisper in a dark circle somewhere across the room that Israel has any influence or control over any narratives through the media, and then juxtapose that with everything that Netanyahu is pushing forward with this new initiatives to literally bribe and pay for, hire influencers to push a narrative on behalf of Israel. That's probably then, by definition, the most anti-Semitic thing we've ever seen. So that's. I mean, it's so freaking crazy. It's so wild, man. I'm like, is this real? Is reality real? Is Patrick Henningsen real? Is he really with us right now? These are the questions I have. But I just want to say real quick that a lot of these things fundamentally stem forth from a basic misunderstanding, probably on purpose by the powers that be, whoever they are, a conflating confusion of religion and identity. For instance, America, people who don't live in America, and most people who live in America, think America is a quote unquote Christian nation. I'm like, that's not exactly true. And then all the people who you would run into out on the street who say they're Christian, well, there's so many different splintered factions within that and what they believe. It would be erroneous on your part, a fallacy, logically speaking, if you're not from America or inside of the Christian group, to suggest or assume that everyone who's a Christian and everyone who lives in America believes whatever fundamental hardcore thing you discover or believe about the religion. For instance, look at how Muslims and the Islamic faith is treated. Oh, well, they believe, they're taught in their teachings that they need to run around, take over the whole world and kill everybody and chop off their heads. So clearly anyone who identifies from any nation that has been labeled as a Muslim country, or any person who's had any dipping of their toe in any part of that faith, is automatically lumped into that weird belief system, which is false. So I just wanted to point that out. Welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, good one. Patrick, great to see you. Thanks for joining us today. We're kind of talking about what's gone on with the flotilla participants being held. I can't believe how fast these hearings happened. 200 hearings late Thursday night and into Friday morning without any prior notice to the Adala lawyers. No legal defenders for the flotilla participants present. And this is just really gone very fast. We called the episode "The Line in the Water." apparently it was crossed by the flotilla, and now we're sort of seeing the aftermath of it. What have you heard, and what are you expecting to happen next?
Well, I think thanks for holding the fort, you guys. I like what you've done with the place as well. I like the color, little bit of flair. I love it.
StreamYard's taken its own thing today. Like when I got started, it started changing colors on me. Elon Musk even jumped up over one of our videos we were just watching on his own. I don't know what's going on back here, but it's looking all right.
I like it. I really like it, actually. It really pops well, especially on X, on the live feed. But first of all, you guys are, especially Ruckus, you and Basil, and you guys are noticing way too much. We have to talk about that. The flotilla, I think a number of the participants have flown back. There's still, I don't know who's accounted for and who's not accounted for. I don't know if you guys have seen or spoken to the reports about Greta being the subject of extra abuse by her IDF captors. Yeah, that was interesting. So it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say when she comes out. And I'm gonna say this as well. There's a lot of people in the alternative media that have been joining in on this dog pile of slagging off Greta Thunberg because she's involved with this. And look, I don't need to tell you guys my position as a climate skeptic right back to 2007. So I absolutely oppose the way the establishment was using her as a battering ram during her teenage years. But Greta is an adult now, and she has her own views, her own opinions. I might not agree with the whole climate issue with her, or any of it for that matter. But on this issue, she deserves nothing but my respect, and I absolutely applaud her steadfastness, her clarity, her absolute crystal clarity on this issue. And the fact that what I find amazing about Greta is she's been trained by the best. She's been trained by the biggest PR organizations, the biggest NGOs for, being the main voice of the climate issue. Okay. And she's taken those skills, and I think she is definitely one of the best in terms of a seasoned activist. She's taken those skills and applied them in full measure against one of the most evil entities in the history of the planet. And we're talking about the colonial settler project, the Zionist entity known as Israel. What they're doing right now in Gaza is absolutely incredible and horrific. And to see Greta Thunberg on the front line of this, putting herself out not just once, but it's the second flotilla that she's put herself on. She deserves nothing but admiration, respect, and support for what she's doing, along with every other participant on this flotilla. That's what I have to say. And those people sniping at her, get a life, grow up. I see grown men sniping at her. And I'm just like, you guys, from wherever you're sitting comfortably, and you support, what the flotilla is doing, but you're sniping at her for putting herself out. And I'm gonna say this as well. Like, had she not been on that flotilla or on the boat that she was on, we were having trouble tracking her because I think she switched boats at least once. So we didn't know where she was. We didn't know if she disembarked at Crete, because she wasn't on the first boat that we saw her on. So I think she was on the Alma when it was seized. And had she not been on that boat, she's easily the most high profile person on the flotilla. What would Israel have done? Is it possible that they could have taken extreme prejudice in those cases? Who knows? But it's to me only a positive thing that her or anyone else with a profile is on board that flotilla.
Yeah, and as far as I could see, we're not. She doesn't have the typical, or I should say, maybe the Greta 1.0 climate protester. She doesn't have that typical media fanfare around her. There's not, specifically placed professional photographers to capture a moment where some cops come and grab her by the elbows and walk her to a car or something like that. I mean, I understand why we covered a lot of those things. And, we even on our soundboard here, we've got, the how dare you clip and all that. Like, we're very critical of that whole Green New Deal phase of Greta's personality and activism. And we also have major exposés at 21stcenturywire.com that go into who her handlers were when she was 15, 16, 17, and what kind of PR machinery was behind her. So we acknowledge all that, and we've been there reporting all that. But that machinery does not seem to be following her around right now. I've noticed she seems to be there like any other protester, risking, freedom, life and limb, pretty much, risking getting phosphorus dumped on her with a drone at night in the middle of the night, or like we're seeing here on this page. Let me just bring this up really quick. Let me get it a little bit bigger there so everybody can read it. There's video here. There's no English in the video, but I believe this is a translation of something that's being said by this guy here. Zionists dragged little Greta Thunberg by her hair before our eyes, beat her, and forced her to kiss the Israeli flag. They did everything imaginable to her as a warning to others. So that's pretty disturbing, you guys.
Yeah.
It's not in the least bit
like
surprising.
that.
I'm surprised she consented to kiss the Israeli flag. What would they have done next had she not done so? From what I can tell, some of the more high-profile and vocal people, like our friends Dr. Frank Romano and Taig Hickey, are still in custody. Others have been deported. I saw some Israeli accounts complaining that they would have to pay for the deportation flights. People have been sent to Turkey in the first instance for the most part, but Frank's there for the second time, of course, because he went on his own boat, the Handler, a few months ago, and Taig Hickey is well known as being, a very articulate opponent of Zionism. So I believe they're still in custody, just made to suffer that little bit longer. Of course, the Israelis are, on the one hand, as is often the case, denying that prisoners have been badly treated, that there was a lack of food or clean water. But at the same time, Ben-Gvir is celebrating the fact that prisoners have been badly treated. They want to have it both ways. They want one arm of the Hasbara wing to say, oh, no, that's all an exaggeration. Basically, it's been like staying in the Ritz-Carlton. But on the other hand, I was going to say darker elements, but they're all extremely dark, are celebrating the mistreatment and saying it's exactly what they deserved.
Yeah, I've actually got footage here. Ben-Gvir bragging. Let's take a look at this one as well.
השר, איפה אנחנו נמצאים? אנחנו נמצאים בכלא קציעות, וכמו שהבטחתי, אותם אנשי משט, תומכי טרור, נמצאים כאן בכלא ביטחוני.
Again, no English on that one, but he brags, quote, as I promised, the flotilla activists are now in security prison, treated like saboteurs, the bare minimum of everything. And then the commenter here at the Global Sumud Flotilla post on X says, this is coming from a man sanctioned and banned by 35 countries, including the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Norway, Spain, and the entire Schengen area. And yet governments still stay silent as he oversees the abduction of peaceful humanitarians. Yes, they certainly do.
What would we normally call it if somebody illegally kidnapped a group of peaceful humanitarian workers? Would that be considered an act of terror, out of curiosity?
It's an international crime. It's kidnapping. It's illegal, especially in international waters, and a humanitarian thing. Ben-Gvir is just, you just see what a slovenly, fat slob of an individual, and just grotesque. Not just in how he looks, but in the things that come out of this man's mouth. It's just unbelievable. I mean, he's just a very unsavory character. That show's got a big mug shot of that guy on the background there. I like that montage, by the way. That's very fitting. All the key elements of the story are there. Thank you, Ruckus. I see Tiago as well. Tiago Avila behind Ruckus. Tiago is an absolute hero. I don't know if you guys caught Tiago's video. Audio from him, basically. And they're trying to hail his ship, and he just took the Israeli American suburban IDF reservist apart. I mean, it was just epic. That's going to go down in history as one of the great audios of all time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He answered line by line, didn't he, about how it was them that was breaking the law and so on and so forth. There was this bizarre footage, wasn't there, of a so-called Israeli naval officer, a woman with blonde hair and an American accent, instructing the flotilla what to do. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. No, but I've got the Tiago audio. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just epic. Here, I'll bring this up right now.
War zone. If you continue and attempt to breach the naval blockade, we will stop your vessel and act to confiscate it through legal proceedings in court. You bear full responsibility for your actions.
Say that we are entering an active war zone. You're saying that we are entering a place where you are committing war crimes. This is against international law. Once again, the International Court of Justice made a provisional ruling that any attempt to hinder a humanitarian mission to Gaza is prohibited by international law and is complying with the request to make you accountable for the crime of genocide. The International Criminal Court has your Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu under an arrest warrant for the crime of starving children and starving people to death using starvation and famine as a weapon of war. Therefore, it's our moral duty to continue sailing. It's our moral duty to refuse any attempt of an occupying force to control humanitarian aid for the Palestinian people in Gaza who have the right of their sovereignty, who have the right of their self-determination and to control their own borders. Therefore, we do not recognize you as a legitimate agent to control any attempt to bring aid to the Palestinian people in Gaza. We request you to stand down, to do not commit another war crime among so many that you've been committing, and to stand down. Do not engage with our peaceful, non-violent, humanitarian solidarity mission for the Palestinian people in Gaza. I advise you again.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, what an absolute G Tiago is. I mean, imagine being hailed by the IDF, knowing that they're going to basically come and, take you at gunpoint, basically, which they did, weapons free. I mean, did you guys see any of the scenes of those? I mean, it's just pointing the muzzles. Those are very powerful weapons. They're pointing into the faces and heads of humanitarian workers and aid people that are just wearing life jackets, totally unarmed, obviously. I mean, just totally uncalled for, but this is the thuggery that unfortunately we're dealing with.
They sprayed some of the boats with skunk water as well, the foul-smelling liquid that they spray in the Palestinian districts of Jerusalem as well.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Do you guys follow Greg Stoker? I've been following Greg Stoker on IG for the last couple of years. And he is an American military veteran. We've got at least 2 or 3 American military veterans that were on the flotilla. And Rupert asked about him. Greg Stoker is seen as the Special Forces leader of the flotilla. I fear his interrogation may be harsh. That's a valid fear, I would say.
Yeah, as I said, I've no doubt they're going to make it particularly hard on those that are higher profile, that they're a bit more afraid of. I just want to draw attention quickly to a letter to the newly incumbent British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, the woman, of course, who proscribed Palestine action a couple of months ago. Barry Gardner's a left-wing Labour MP, wrote to Yvette as follows: please advise me of any other situation in which the UK government would remain quiescent after the kidnapping of more than a dozen of our citizens by a foreign government in an act of piracy on the high seas. My constituent, Aaron White, is part of the Global Sumud Flotilla. Last night, Aaron's boat was intercepted by the Israeli Navy, and since then we've heard no word from him to confirm his safety. Have you called the Israeli ambassador to protest? Have you spoken with your counterpart in Israel? Has the Prime Minister spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu to demand the immediate release of all British citizens? If not, why not? The UK-flagged vessel LV Alma is part of the flotilla and was in international waters when it was detained. Has the UK lodged a complaint against the State of Israel at the International Maritime Organization headquarters in London for this violation of Articles 100 to 107 and 110 of the UNCLOS? If not, why not? The UN confirmed last month that Gaza is suffering from famine, which was the direct result of Israel's systematic obstruction of aid entering the territory. My constituent and others on the flotilla were engaged in an attempt to relieve that suffering by bringing much needed food and medical supplies to the Gazan people. Yet our government is mute. There are urgent measures which the UK can and should take to impose further sanctions on Israel and its politicians, including Prime Minister Netanyahu. These must now be put in place. The UK must not remain pitifully silent in the face of this direct assault on its citizens. When future generations look back on the role of British politics.
Uh-oh, Basil froze there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Basil, you froze at the
back.
end there.
Okay. Am I back with you?
Yeah, it looks like you're back with us.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, you got the gist of it there.
Yes.
Absolutely bang on the money, Barry Gardner. But the simple fact is that obviously we all know the UK government is in bed with Tel Aviv. You might as well call Labour Likud light or something. But essentially, they're afraid of the Israelis. This is the point. They're afraid of the Israelis and they're afraid of the Jewish lobby in the UK. You know, we had the so-called chief rabbi, I mentioned him earlier, dozens of others wailing and gnashing of teeth like you've never heard before because of the Manchester synagogue attack. This basically they wanted as a result to outlaw Palestine solidarity, outlaw the marches, dubbing them hate marches again, the synagogue attacks, sort of refueled this extremist pro-genocide Zionist position. So, you know, in the light of that, people like Yvette Cooper and the Prime Minister himself, even if they wanted to act, and I don't think they really do, but they're terrified. They're terrified of Israel and they're terrified of the lobby.
Yeah, it's a very convenient distraction, obviously.
Very.
Playing the Manchester thing. I mean, the Patsy's dead, right? Is he been
yes,
wiped? He's been
he was
wiped
shot.
out.
So the police shot two people. They also shot one of the victims.
Oh, did they? Wow.
Yeah.
So they shot one of the victims. They shot the alleged assailant, right? And then the assailant they say shot or killed one of the victims.
That's right.
Is that right?
So the police killed two people.
What was the assailant's name, by the way, real quick?
Well, his first name was Jihad, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Jihad. Well,
I'm buying that totally. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. And of course, the narrative being pushed by scoundrels and scumbags like Tommy Robinson is that the Palestinian struggle is jihad, you know, that it's Western civilization that's at stake. And that's why everyone in Gaza must be obliterated because they're all jihadis. Look at this guy. His name's Jihad. This is all part of the race war narrative that he's trying to stoke. Robinson has now been invited to Israel, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that they would apprehend the assailant so that we could learn the background, what the motivation might be, that there might be some cross-examination, maybe a trial or something like that. I mean, that would be useful, wouldn't it? It would certainly be helpful. That's what I was hoping for. and we'll determine sort of more about the story that way. But now that's not going to happen. Obviously, I said Patsy earlier, alleged Patsy, alleged gunman, alleged terrorist. What do we actually know? What do we actually know about this situation? Not much. And what happens when there's no information and we don't know much? What does the public do? They speculate. So they speculate on stuff, which is what we're left. That's the only thing that we're left to do. Otherwise, are we not allowed to speculate and we have to just wait for the official line on it and then swallow that and accept that 110%? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. No questions here. Move along. Thank you very much. Anything shady? Any potential shady activity there? Who knows? Dare we say false flag? That's not appropriate in this case. Of course, there's impossible. We're told that it could be anything nefarious going on here other than what the government is declaring here. So that's where we're at, folks. And did I lay that out well?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's par for the course here in October 2025 to just be given narratives and data points. Here's the narrative. Here's some data points. Here's some conflicting data points. Have fun, gang. It's just like that whole paradigm, that you spoke about in that in one of your presentations that we talked about recently is just gone. Like the whole paradigm of the people writing the narrative and making the claims are the ones that have the onus of providing enough context, factual information, and verifiable sources to actually have an international or a national or a media discussion about current events. And I kind of opened Boiler Room last night with just sort of lamenting the loss of news. Like it's very difficult to even be a commentator and analyst in news right now, because all we get are managed narratives and conflicting data points. It's just a mess of stuff, and so many people are tuning out from it. It's many people are tuned in, sort of those people that light bulbed on in 2020 and 2021 are cued in, and a lot of folks on X and TikTok are cued in. But what's going to happen to X and TikTok now? I think we kind of got a bit of a harbinger, a bit of a warning. We've got an executive order out. We got Larry Ellison up there working with TikTok now, and we've got Benjamin Netanyahu openly, publicly hiring more influencers to go, as the cherry on top of the Hasbara toxic cake that we're all forced to eat here in the social media feeds.
I mean, let me just. I got asked to go onto a space on X, a panel, okay, and I didn't accept it. Obviously, I didn't reply because it's just. And I went to check out the space anyway afterwards. And who was the main guest? It was Jonathan Ruckus, or whatever his name is, the IDF spokesperson, the Israeli main propagandist, that sort of meathead looking character. I mean, he was the main guy, and the panel was just stacked with Israeli spooks and shills. And why on earth did they invite me to? I mean, I just like I would have had to sit there probably for 2 hours, and then I would be passed over for a comment. It's really just a way of usually frustrating people like myself, or people with heterodox views. I would say heterodox, truthful views on the issue. But I mean, I was thinking, now the revelation that $7,000 per X post that some of these so-called influencers are getting from these agencies, and then via the Israeli foreign ministry or media ministry, or wherever the money is originating from. How much do people get paid to do these spaces platforming the IDF spokesperson? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, I'm just asking a fair question there. There's money behind this. People don't do this out of the bottom of the goodness of their heart. And some of these influencers, guys, are pretty pathetic. And they don't even have big followings. They have outsized reach, obviously, because they're not shadow banned like myself or other accounts. But it's just pathetic that they have to pay $7,000 for a tweet. and they're getting buried in terms. They can't keep up with, at least on X, with the pro-Palestinian and the anti-genocide posts. I think they're getting hit like 20-1. So Palestine's not spending any money. By the way, I can pretty much attest to that. They're not spending anything for their 20-1 victory margin on social media impressions, guys. What does that tell you?
You mean they don't have giant PR engines working with them? I mean,
no, we get
surprising.
paid in karma points. As Bill Murray famously said in Caddyshack, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. When he's talking about the Dalai Lama, catting for the Dalai Lama, I think it was.
Yes.
I've got a question for you then, guys. Do you think enough of the cat is out of the bag for the anti-Zionist movement to continue to grow, particularly among young people, even though Larry Ellison's taking over TikTok, and we know that they're going to try and clamp down across the board on social media. Let's not forget Jonathan Greenblatt's exclamations, "This is the most important battle," etc., blah blah blah. They're calling for more censorship of anti-Zionist voices, obviously conflating them with anti-Semitism. So is enough of the cat out of the bag? And does the assassination of Charlie Kirk mean that the MAGA right are going to be successfully redirected, as they hope, back into the Zionist sheep pen?
I'll tell you what. This is all kind of going by the playbook. This is just like advanced Hasbara. We're in sort of late stage Hasbara, if you will, in terms of Israeli propaganda, because for decades, and I'm writing about this right now, there'll be a new article in New Dawn, next issue of New Dawn magazine out of Australia, but Israel's been allowed to run covert operations and do things incrementally for decades. So it's never aroused the sort of, overt suspicion of the Western public and all of the opposition you're seeing now. But in the last 2 years, they've basically taken the restraints off, and they're just so over the top and seem to be in a rush to expedite their final solution by exterminating and ethnically cleansing the native Palestinian population. And in doing so, it's evoked a visceral reaction from the global public. So you can censor all you want and continue to try to censor, but you're just looking really dumb and stupid in the process. And in Britain, they just arrested a blind pensioner. He must have been in his mid-80s, and the two police are like escorting him off and then giving him directions of like where the steps are and what, because he said he supported Palestine action. I mean, how stupid and ridiculous. So the people who are protesting a genocide are getting arrested, and people who are supporting it and calling for it and shilling for the mass slaughter of innocent civilians, are nothing's happening to them. In fact, they're given privileged positions to buy and take over large social media platforms and mainstream outlets like CBS in the United States. So, I mean, how did Barry Weiss become like the head of news at CBS? Like, what did she achieve? She was a mediocre columnist, and nobody really knew until she was on Joe Rogan, at which point she made a complete arse out of herself at that point, and then somehow reinvented herself as the quote free press, stealing a term that's ubiquitous and belongs to the public domain, the free press. I mean, what kind of chutzpah does it take to appropriate, to occupy the term free press and name your outlet after it and copyright it? And I mean, this, and it's a total Israeli propaganda platform in terms of anything relating to these issues. And then she gets gifted $250 million or something for a payout for her blog in some merger and acquisition with some whatever private equity or whoever bought the free press, and then is buying CBS, and then fast-tracked her, Ellison's son fast-tracked her into the head of news editorial. So in a gatekeeper position, basically. So she's rewarded for mediocrity and carrying, shilling for Israel herself. Obviously, she's a Jewish lesbian Zionist who's anti-woke, and that's her credentials. Basically, she hasn't. What are her journalistic achievements? I'm not sure. She was given access to the Twitter files by Elon, along with Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and a bunch of other people that were handpicked to have access to the emails when Elon took over Twitter. And that kind of gave her, I think she launched the so-called free press on the back of that Twitter files thing. But that was a sort of handpicked, privileged appointment, if you will. Like, what's she actually broken? Like, what stories has she actually broken? What sort of profound analysis has she offered the world on any major issue? I have no idea. But I watched that Rogan clip that she did where Joe Rogan just dismantled her in the most polite way possible you could dismantle somebody. And her reputation should have been toast at that point. But, in that end of the media, no debacle goes unrewarded, really. And so look at her. Now she's fabulously wealthy and in charge of a major U.S. Media title. And
I just want to go back quickly to the Palestine Action protests in the UK. The UK government did everything they could to discourage people from attending yesterday in Trafalgar Square. Originally, there were going to be 1,500 people there who had signed up to be arrested. In the end, about 500 were arrested. But you add that to the 1,500 that have already been arrested nationwide. I was in Parliament Square a few weeks ago for the last big mass arrest. There were arrests outside the Labour Party conference in Liverpool this week. There have been arrests up and down the country, including in Scotland. Anyway, the horrendously Zionist Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, he has come out and said, right, that's enough now. We've had enough. Police are fed up with it. They're tired of carrying elderly vicars and Quakers and blind and disabled people. They're tired of carrying them out of important spaces in central London, dumping them in vans, processing them, charging them with a thought crime, or holding a banner which says I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action. That's what the banner says. Everybody holds the same one. Police have had enough of it, he said. Okay, so what happens next? Mark, are you going to recommend to the police that they deprescribe Palestine Action, or are you expecting everybody to simply row along with the genocide? So it's going to continue. Of course it is. More people are going to get arrested. A lot of people have been arrested more than once. So it'd be very interesting to see how this plays out, because it's gumming up the courts with completely unnecessary, idiotic cases. And if you were facing 14 years in jail for expressing material support for a terrorist organization, you're entitled to a trial by jury. Well, 1,500 and rising trial by juries are enormously expensive. Are the government going to employ their own barristers to prosecute all these people? I've no doubt a lot of the defendants will represent themselves and incur no costs at all. The whole thing is a complete farrago, a mess. But it's coming to a head. Of course, again, after Manchester, whereas pressure might have been building to deprescribe Palestine Action, now the lobby will be going, oh, you can't give in, my God, there'll be another terrorist attack if you give in and deprescribe Palestine Action. But at the same time, the police are saying they've had enough, and people are going to continue to get themselves arrested. So it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. Quite unprecedented.
I mean, how is the synagogue attack? I mean, by the way, we have to. The British police took out one of the victims. I mean, that's quite
took out one of the victims and apparently the perpetrator. Yeah,
the perpetrator. So, but put that aside. So, if the perpetrator claimed one victim, how does that obviously not taking anything away from the pain and suffering of that victim and the families, caveat, how does that compare to 680,000 dead or missing, and the U.S. and Britain actively providing military support and intelligence for the Israelis who are carrying out a genocide right in front of our eyes? I mean, how on the moral scale, if you had to prioritize those two things, are we at pains to say that the latter is actually a bigger priority? If human life is worth anything, half a million human lives.
Before you joined us, Patrick, I made the point about the primacy of Jewish suffering. This is the key thing, really. If a Jew dies, it's much, much more tragic than a Gentile in this country. And obviously 100,000 times more tragic than a Palestinian. It's as simple as
or
that.
a Muslim.
Oh, I mean, they hardly count at all. There was an imam was stabbed last week, was not mentioned in the corporate media at all. Not at all.
Did you see Craig Murray just tweeted a video of a mosque being burned in Sussex, and the fire department stood down and watched it burn. It's in Peace Haven. That's a community we know. And
yes.
Now, if that was a synagogue, it would be global news, right?
Absolutely.
But it's not garnered any media attention in the UK that I have seen yet, but I haven't looked that hard. I haven't checked the BBC in the last hour, but that's that's at the top of Craig Murray's feed. You guys can find that if you want.
And if the firefighters stood down in that instance, Patrick, they would probably be detained somewhere and treated as terrorists. Yes,
it's just a mosque after all. I mean, who cares? It's a mosque, and there might be some Muslims inside, but it's not.
But if it was a synagogue, yeah. I do have a question for you guys.
If it was a church, Tommy Robinson would retweet that it was Muslims that torched the church, even if it was a fire that happened from an arsonist that happened to be white and English. And that actually happened in Wales. He did push that, as well as Alex Jones, that Muslims set fire to a historic English Church of England church. And that was debunked as fake news. But it went viral, got millions and millions and millions. And Elon, of course, and people like Elon, I think Elon probably retweeted that too to help boost it. So, but, and job done. This is the power. This is some serious high octane propaganda, guys. It's not just the propaganda itself. It's the people that can boost it, that they have privileged sort of fast-tracked access to into our feeds, like Elon, for instance, into our feeds. I just noticed, by the way, sorry to digress, guys, but I just noticed I'm no longer following Nico House and Craig Murray. Isn't that interesting? And a whole bunch of other top accounts. And I contacted some of these accounts and said, "Are you aware of this?" And they said, "Yes, I am." And one of these top accounts said, "I've been losing 4,000 followers per month. 4,000 followers every month for the last few months." I am in the same bracket. I counted maybe 2,000 per month over the last 3 months. And so I was over 200,000 followers, and I've keep getting pulled back under. So and how am I unfollowing all these top accounts that I've followed for like 10, 15 years? How's that? What? And they all happen to be the most effective communicators on this issue. I mean, is that am I conspiracy theorizing here?
I don't think so.
I just noticed, Patrick, just this week, because I was doing some cleaning up of the following and checking out my followers and stuff on my own Twitter. And I noticed after I did that, because then I knew what my numbers were, where they were, and I knew exactly how many people I was following. And then I noticed after a day or two, the number of people that I was following started to be reduced. And I'm like, I've never seen that happen before. Doesn't that usually only happen when you choose to unfollow that person, and I thought, oh, this is just kind of weird. Maybe that's what happens when like the person gets their account canceled or they stop using X. Maybe they blocked me. I didn't think anything of it until just now, and then I realized, man, I've been using X for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen that number be reduced unless you do something. So this is clearly something is rotten in the state of X right now.
Yep.
Yeah. And if I may, can we watch a short video here? Maybe this will help explain some of the shenanigans that we are seeing. Oh, by the way, on screen right there, you can see pretty hot article over there at 21stcenturywire.com, which will dovetail with this clip nicely. How Israel plans to buy, silence, and manufacture consent in the United States. Let's take a peek.
So something I would like to raise, which was actually my first published paper, was how you and the Likud party are cut from the same ideological cloth as Trump and the GOP in America. And so specifically with Charlie Kirk's assassination, who was a big mentor of mine, who's my first mentor in the space, evangelicals, from all my research, evangelicals are the reason that Israel has been supported in public sphere outside of just Jews. So with Charlie's assassination and with the kind of trajectory that we see with like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, I guess I'm curious about what's another game plan if we lose evangelical support for the state of Israel. What's our backup plan to be strong, like outside of the diaspora?
Christian influencers. Okay. You said we talked about the woke right, and you said I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke right, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're lunatic. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. The weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay. Fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok. Number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one? That's most important.
So it cuts right there. But the other one, if you watch the full clip, is X. He goes on to say that it is X.
Yep.
I mean, who are these scumbags listening to that homicidal maniac and wanted war criminal as if he's a normal person? And the woman's got to cheat to say at the beginning, Likud is cut from the same ideological cloth as MAGA conservatives. What? In other words, they're all homicidal maniacs as well, And then Netanyahu says, I mean, I don't want to impersonate him, but the weapons have changed. You can't fight with cavalry anymore. No, you can just bomb civilians and burn countless children alive. He talks there as if there isn't a bloody massacre going on every day.
This guy is so tone deaf. It's shocking. He's just coming. His mask is completely off. Like, it's just a psychopathic, murderous, fascist. Yeah. Like, basically, yeah. I mean, he's very good. His German pronunciation's very good, very impressive. The way he said Reich. I mean, I don't know anybody could pull that off other than German. Find me a German that will say Reich in public. There's not. Well, of course,
he's Polish, which is next door to Germany.
Yeah, so. He is. He's Polish. I know. He's extremely, and raised in America. So obviously, completely completely of the region.
And friends with Tony Blair. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, but what he's done there? Did you see what Netanyahu is doing? It's so disingenuous. He's trying to play conservatives against liberals, left against right. So he's sitting in his catbird seat there, trying to play American right against the American left. So manipulative, and then openly talking about taking over whole platforms in order to censor. And it's supposed to be a conspiracy theory that the Zionist lobby control the media. I mean, come on. So, and the other thing he's doing, which is disingenuous, is he's using the term woke right, and we've gone through this.
Yeah,
that was originally we were saying the woke right, describing Ben Shapiro and all these Zionist identity politic fanatics after October 7th. How these are the people that castigated the left and the woke left for being, extremist identity politic purveyors. And then after October 7th, they are the biggest purveyors of identity politics. And Zionism is the highest form of identity politics, and it is the most weaponized on the planet. It's militarized, in fact. And it's being used to attack and shut down all of our Western institutions, to undermine the rule of law internationally, to undermine free speech and assembly in Europe, in the UK, and in the United States, to protect this colonial settler state that's on a genocidal rampage under the guise of they need to be protected because of the identity politics, being an ethno state, being a exclusive ethno state. I mean, how high do you need to get on the identity politics hierarchy pyramid than that? You find me anything that's higher than that on the planet right now. I think that's the apex. So that's where we said woke right. And then the MAGA crowd and the Daily Wire crowd took it. They basically appropriated it, which they're very good at. We'll leave it there. And they reappropriated it to use to attack people on the right that were criticizing Israel and speaking out against the genocide, calling them woke right. Totally disingenuous, no basis at all, and obviously ignoring the whole irony of the fact that Ben Shapiro and all these culture warriors made their bones attacking, gender fluid, purple-haired undergrads at Berkeley. Under the guise of exposing how stupid identity politics are. And these are the biggest identity politics pushers going right now with Zionism in Israel. I mean, does anyone see the irony of this? I mean, that's what we were pointing out. Netanyahu running the Shapiro fake woke Reich reappropriation of it. I mean, so they totally Israeled that term. They just took it, reappropriated it, they stole it.
It's crazy because what does the woke left like to do? One of their main things they like to do is censor and ban, right? They want to censor and ban people. And
exactly.
And Netanyahu's sitting here saying, we're going to dump a buttload of money into X and TikTok. We're going to have people that are friendly to us buy TikTok, run TikTok. And we're going to censor these messages. We're going to censor these accounts. We're going to unfollow them from their colleagues. We're going to take their followers and unfollow them from these commentators. And what happened? Check this out. This is totally freaking insane. So the juice emoji has been banned from TikTok. Is that emoji not peak wokeness right there? I don't care if it's woke left or woke right. The seemingly innocent juice emoji is allegedly getting banned. Here's the dark reasons why. You can go on and read this if you want, but we all know what the reason is, because young people replace words that are sometimes banned or censored with emojis. And I think we can all figure out what the juice box emoji is code for.
It's O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yes.
But are they going to ban the watermelon? Yeah, they'll ban the watermelon next. Yeah. Because that so they're canceling like crazy. And that is the woke right. These are the woke right.
Yes.
Netanyahu's the woke. Well, he's more than the woke right. He's fascist. But Shapiro and all of this Fox News crowd and Pam Bondi saying we need to arrest people that say unkind things about Charlie Kirk in the wake of his death. I mean, that's just about as cancel culture-ish and woke as you can possibly get. The irony dripping from that situation. So that's what the woke right is. We were right. We coined that term after October 7th, and we pointed it at the people who deserved it. They took it and tried to reverse it in a very disingenuous way. And you can see Netanyahu still trying to squeeze the last dirty drop out of that rag that you could possibly wring out of it. There he goes. I mean, this guy's.
Wasn't it people like us who also originally coined the term fake news? And look what they did with that one, right?
Yeah, right. Fake news. Yeah, right. Yeah, just the list goes on. So a lot of reappropriation. Are we wrong pointing this out? Is that I feel
Or
guilty pointing
anti-Semitic.
this out. I think it might be, is that hate speech, pointing out this obvious contradiction?
It's so
This
obvious. I
hypocrisy?
mean, look at this. You even titled an episode "The Real Woke Right" with all of us here in this program that was episode 561, "The Real Woke Right." Before is this where Netanyahu got the idea to change it? I mean,
No,
come on.
no, you got to go all the way back to October 2023 and listen to our commentaries around then, and you'll see on TNT, I smashed that thing so hard for months. And then I did so on 21 Wire, on Sunday Wire, probably on the UK column as well, at that point as well. But no, that happened before. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. That episode was a refresher course for those that didn't hear us talking about it for almost 2 straight years, because it was easy to see coming down the pike even before Trump 2.0 came in. October 7 was when it was like, oh, this is how we're going to play it on the GOP side, I guess.
So the bottom line, Hesher, guys, is and I don't want to call them the conservatives in America, because that now I was on a major podcast. It got, I don't know, many hundreds of thousands of views recently, and people in the comments were saying I'm a lefty because I'm not supporting Israel and supporting Trump. So how is anything about Donald Trump conservative? Can somebody please explain how is supporting Israel in this genocide conservative? How is bombing Iran conservative? Can someone please, how is launching tariff wars against all of countries on the planet, including your allies, and how is that conservative? I mean, I'm totally missing something here. They have reappropriated the term conservative to mean a whole bunch of different things. This started with the neocons, by the way, during the Bush years, but to mean a whole bunch of different things that have nothing to do with conservatism in the history of the United States. They have taken it and redefined it to mean all of these crazy, crazy and attributes: supporting wars, bombing people, ethnic cleansing, genocide. That's if you're not supporting that, you're not conservative, according to these people. It's amazing.
It was the same with Thatcher in the 80s. She was an iconoclast. She destroyed British industry, went for privatization, so on. So the term has been redefined. I mean, occasionally people try and redefine it as small government, as libertarianism, as what then gets derided as isolationism. In other words, non-foreign intervention, like Ron Paul, but the neocon Zionist takeover of the term conservative is in the West pretty much complete. You can't, the leader of the Tories and also Farage, they all died in the wool Zionists, and you have to ask yourself why. They're supposed to represent sort of church going, middle class English people. Why do they want to ally themselves with this demonic death cult?
I like this comment here. This is by Piano Man. It's not left, right, blue, or red which should guide what's morally and ethically right or wrong. I think I know what he means there. So it's like, what are the morals and ethics of the issue, not whether it's being classed or trying to be filed by certain influencers as, left, right, red, blue, conservative, liberal. Is it morally or ethically sound? Does the policy fall foul of morals or ethics? And this is my criticism of the right. And everyone knows my story. I left the Democratic Party, went to follow Ron Paul into the Republican Party in 2008. That's my long and the short of my political story. But I'm very critical of the so-called right because they're completely inconsistent. They're inconsistent. They're hypocritical, and they're virtue signaling and moralizing when they actually don't. Well, at least mainstream, a lot of MAGAs as well who are supporting Trump right now. They're Christian conservatives have no leg to stand on, and that's why there's a split in MAGA. That's what happened. That's what Charlie Kirk represented, I believe. And that's what Tucker represents. That's what Candace Owens represents. Even Megyn Kelly, I'll throw her in that basket. Okay.
She's heading in that direction. I mean,
to an extent.
So-called Christian Zionists need to ask themselves a simple question. What part of Israel's genocide would Jesus Christ support?
Yeah, tell that to Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee, completely fake Christian. I mean, how can these people sleep at night? Probably because they're really well paid and really well fed, and probably a few other things that they're well. But that's, I guess, how they manage it, how they reconcile these problems. But so this is my issue, and I have been also chastised and harangued by my colleagues for being on panels or platforming socialists. Okay, and I don't, when it comes to foreign policy and human rights issues, I couldn't give a flying what their affiliations or ideological position is, whether they're a communist. I really don't care. But I'll tell you what, the old left, the anti-imperialists, the communists, they're more consistent on their moral positions when it comes to human rights, international law, and just like protecting people civilians are getting bombed. They're a lot more consistent on those issues than people on the so-called right at the moment, and the left too, and the libs as well. But so at least, and I say this with the greatest degree of deference, at least I know where the far left or the Marxists or the communists, at least I know where they stand on those issues. Like, we don't have any arguments or debates, or I don't have to poke around to get their position. It's ironclad and it's clear. But I can't say the same for neoliberals and this new breed of fake conservatives or Christian conservatives that are just completely all over the place. No consistency whatsoever.
Well, I mean, this is the problem, that, there is no fundamental guiding philosophy behind conservatism for that, anymore. What is it actually supposed to believe in at its core? Is it just American exceptionalism and Zionism? Is that it?
Well, but I mean, Basil, between American conservatives and British conservatives, so American conservatism is a whole bunch of different, like small government and so forth. British conservatism, it's not about small government. It's Roger, or Douglas Murray will say it's Roger Scruton, and an appreciation for the sublime and the beautiful, the forms, and all this other garbage about Western civilization. But you talk to Americans, and it's like small government, First Amendment, Second Amendment, don't take my stuff, and leave me the fuck alone. So that's American conservative. It's always been that way,
right?
And a less adventurous foreign policy. Don't go overseas to find monsters to kill. That's traditional American conservatism. So what are these people talking about?
Pat, Ron Paul's the person that brought me to politics in 2012. Also, I was a DGAF. Figure it out yourself if you don't know the acronym. That was my stance on politics. DGAF, big time.
Yeah, I think we've got that one.
And it's like, then Ron Paul came around, and then I started looking into 9/11, and I started looking into medical tyranny and eugenics, and I was all on. I was all in. It was like, okay, cool. This is where the fights are. And what are we actually, when we talk about conservatives, particularly American conservatives, what is it we have to stop and ask ourselves, what is it we're trying to conserve? Well, it's the
Exactly.
Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Ultimately,
Exactly.
it's not doing foreign or domestic policy and legislation that tramples on people's freedoms. And what do we see from MAGA? We see them doing the opposite of what they said they were going to do on so many things. They said they were going to clean up the FBI. They said the FBI was going to become honest. It's not looking very honest right now, Cash. A lot of people are questioning everything that has happened with Charlie Kirk's situation. So, what are we conserving here? And of course you've got Turning Point USA now using Charlie's show to say that, well, we're conserving Jesus. I mean, it's all evangelical stuff. It's all MAGA / evangelical stuff. That's what Charlie would have wanted. And it struck me when that blonde girl that was sitting there across from Netanyahu asking that question started her statement saying that Charlie was her first mentor in that space. And I mentioned last night in the boiler room that most of those people sitting on the other side of that table from him will look back on that day months from now, a year from now, 5-10 years from now, and say, oh my God, if Charlie was actually my mentor, I would have been asking this guy some other questions, not how can we help you with your narrative management, but why did Charlie start having different opinions about you? Things like that,
Yeah.
There's just too much information out there for those young people. I hope if they're using their brains, to come around eventually. But as all things, will it be in time?
Yeah, they're trying to set up their snake oil stand on top of Charlie Kirk's grave, quite frankly. So it's just completely over the top, just totally politicized. They're trying they're trying to rake political capital out of this guy after he's gone. Clearly, that's what's going on, and ignoring the complete, Damascene conversion that he was going through regarding this unflinching, undying support that Americans are trained to have, including himself, support for Israel. Max Blumenthal has whistleblown about, he was brought on the Birthright Tour to Israel, along with other American Jews, the Birthright Tour. And he said they were openly sending women to sexual services, favors, or whatever, to these people at all hours of the evening in their hotel rooms and whatnot, to try to help them bond with the experience of going to Israel. I mean, that was what Max was talking about recently. I shared the video on our Instagram account. I mean, shocking stuff, actually. But he was kind of blowing the whistle on it. So that's what happens. And it goes for press and politicians as well. What goes on when they go do these visits to Tel Aviv? I mean,
well, Matt Gaetz said he went back to his hotel room in Tel Aviv, and there was a Mossad guy there waiting for him, and everybody was like, "Yeah, that's normal," We're starting to turn with Matt Gaetz. It's interesting that he didn't quite make it into Trump's cabinet, and now he's he's on television news, and he started to notice a few things as well. I'm afraid, gentlemen, I have to leave you at this point. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm back on. It's part of the reason I've got to go. I've got to get ready for tomorrow, 1 p.m. UK time. That's 8 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 a.m. if you're up nice and early on the West Coast, for Ascending Order, my daily news edit on Unprecedented TV. Follow me on X, and it also goes out live on YouTube. And I will be discussing tomorrow with the author and campaigner Luke Andreski the ethics and the morality of the current global situation, particularly with respect to the Middle East.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Basil. Really appreciated the fire that you brought to the show today. You got a lot of fans in the chat. I've seen people people like it when you get heated there. So yeah, we really appreciate you, and have a great week. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be in touch with you.
All right.
Have a great week, everyone.
That's Basil Valentine. Now, Patrick, I have a question. I have been seeing reports over the week that, to paraphrase, that Hamas is going to release hostages at Donald Trump's, threats or requests. I don't know what to classify those as, but I have been having a heck of a time trying to find a source other than Reuters on this report. Where do they come up with headlines for this? Is there a direct line to Hamas leadership that we don't know about? Is it a believable story? I also noticed that they killed 13 civilians that day, the very same day I was seeing those reports. And I'm just curious what your take on that whole thing is.
Yeah, you just have to repeat after me. Release the hostages. Release the hostages. It's all Hamas's fault. Release the hostages. All this will end when you release the hostages. So that's just repeat those terms. I think I've seen this head fake many times already, and so if you follow the headlines with Trump and all these peace gambits and whatnot, you're just going to go around circles. They managed to get the media going around circles on this. I don't react to any of these. I'll just wait 24 hours and it's usually dead. But if you go to the Washington Post or look in the Reuters fine print, read carefully, and you'll see what the source of the claim is and whether it's going to be accepted. And then even if they say it's going to be accepted, or Trump says they're going to do it, or whatever, or Israel says they're going to do it, then you have to wait to see if it's actually done. And that might take a couple of days. And by that time, the whole thing might have gone to pot. So the window is really now 72 hours to 4 days in order to confirm whether something's real or not. So but that's not what people do these days. They just jump and react. Look, Trump's got a deal. Trump's got a deal. And they'll go away and they'll just tell each other out when they're having Pabst Blue Ribbon over the barbecue or whatever. Trump's done a deal. What are you talking about? He's got peace. He really deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. And meanwhile, nothing happened. Nothing effing happened. There's no material difference. It's all cannon fodder for the press, for media. So negotiators head to Egypt. That's not good for Egypt. That's not going to be good for Egypt. What does that mean? Israel can attack Egypt because Hamas is in Egypt. Hamas is in Egypt. So that's what I've been saying on various shows and programs, is saying, look at what's going on. They attacked him in Doha, and they're going to attack him in Egypt. I mean, how else can you read these situations? I just look at history.
Places where we have bases, places where the United States has military bases. That is another small piece of context, actually massive piece of context, that the mass media does not want average Americans to know. Hey, our largest air base is actually over there. These kind of things, little things like that. And yeah, together with Israel, we're providing intelligence and dropping bombs on these places. Ruckus, that headline that you put up there kind of says something about this too, because there was a not so veiled threat right there coming from Trump.
Yeah, no, and the main reason I flashed this was because Patrick is right. You have to wait for these things because nothing's going to come of this. But in the meantime, the people who pretend like they're the news, the quote-unquote media like CNN, right now, tune into our breaking, the most important, exclusive, live coverage of the negotiators who are going to solve the problem in the Middle East, right? Like it's actually going to happen, right? When they don't understand what we're discussing here. Instead, it's just a way for them to keep everybody's attention and everything in here. But the threat is apparently, and Hesher, I've seen this. This is reported. This came from Trump's mouth. He said this. I watched video of this. I reported this on Weaponized News the other day with Sam Cheney. Shout out to Weaponized News. But yes, he threatened. He says that we've got to, it's like a 20-point peace deal. It's going to happen. Netanyahu's approved it. Then they said Hamas approved it without proving that Hamas actually approved it. And then he said, oh, by the way, if they don't accept this deal, we're going to obliterate them. We're going to completely destroy them. They have the, like, he said, I forget his exact words. He said something to the tune of, we are going to fully support and allow and fund Israel to do what Israel needs to do. I think those are the words that he used, to allow Israel can do what it needs to do. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? No explanation? Does that mean, oh, they're going to drop a nuclear bomb? What are they going to do?
It means finally exterminating the native Palestinian population and anyone who survived to ethnically cleanse them. That's what Israel, quote, needs to do. And this is what Donald Trump is backing. This is what the Trump administration is backing, and everybody else who's under the thumb. And that's what Israel's openly stated they want to do. And we're having to pussyfoot around the issue because people are just telling lies to get from A to B, because it's so easy to hoodwink anybody who watches Fox News these days. And it's just so low IQ. And that's the low IQ end of MAGA. So unfortunately, that's where we're at. I hate to leave it on a bad note there, but I will have to chip off now, gentlemen. But I want to say thank you so far. Amazing. And I love the comments. The engagement is off the chain. Obviously, you guys, be tactful, please, with your comments and just avoid the types of things that are going to get that stream. You know what I'm talking about, guys.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Ruckus, Hesher, Basil, and everybody who's engaged on the issue. Stay smart, guys. Stay intelligent, and follow all these very smart gentlemen hosting this program with us today as well. And yeah, looks good. The studio looks amazing.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for all the help setting up today, Pat, and good luck on the rest of your travels. And we'll look forward to doing this again next week. All things line up. We should be here again next week for Sunday Wire 564. So it was great having you. Thanks for taking the time.
We'll see you then. Take it easy, guys. Thanks.
There goes Patrick Henningsen right there. Thank you once again, Patrick. Ruckus, I have a comment I want to highlight here momentarily. Tangential, but very well timed and associated. And it's a great question. We had Chris asking a similar question in the Discord chat. Why aren't you commentators spreading out to other platforms they don't control? We'll just put air quotes around they. I think we all kind of have our own internal definition of what they means in a sentence like this. More work, but it could shift user base over time. Yeah, that is the logical solution, right? I love that, you're solution oriented there, Tyrone. And Chris made a comment like, why can't we just copy TikTok and call it, Kit Kat or Tic Tac or something like that? And that's always been an ever-present question since 2017 when the Google adpocalypse happened and the deranking all happened. 21st Century Wire, alternate current radio, we were proudly and unfortunately on the pointy end of that spear, still suffering the ramifications of that. But Parler did that. Parler was sort of the great example of what happens when an independent business can successfully replicate something like Facebook. And unfortunately, that didn't work out, so it's like a lot of money went into that, a lot of investment went into that, and a lot of people's time and hope went into that. And then once it hits a certain level of engagement, boom, all of a sudden, this site is bad. This is a mean speak site. This is a site for antiseptic, alt-right incels. So all of a sudden, Microsoft gets a call from someone and they say, yeah, sure, we can shut down their single sign-on. We can, or PayPal gets a call. Yeah, sure, we can shut down their PayPal account. And that's exactly what happened. And Parler is no more. So, I fully support the idea. It is the logical thing. You would think that it is doable. But unfortunately, I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok is maybe an even better example. That has been the play, in 2022, we did a lot of reporting about the whole, concept of a TikTok ban in 22 and 23. And it was all GOP people mostly. And it was like, saying, "Oh, we can't have China. We can't have China having American citizens' data. China, China, China. We got China, China, China during that phase of the TikTok discussion. And here we are 3 years later, and look who owns it now. I mean, it's just amazing. Like Ruckus and I, with your support, we could set up a TikTok clone. I'm sure we could, you know. We may not have that information sitting in our brains, but between us and our AI friends, I'm pretty sure we could figure it out, with the right amount of investment. But I guarantee you, if it were to get even a marginal percentage of the user base that TikTok has or X has, things would start to become very difficult all of a sudden. Pressure would start being applied. So we're open to it. We're always looking at alternate pathways. You're right. It is a lot more work, though, Tyrone. As it is, we were 15 minutes late for the show today, just getting posts up on all the places that we currently use. And we do use, like, we're streaming right now on BitChute. We're streaming right now on Rumble. People have questions about Rumble, but for the most part, it seems pretty open right now as far as, banning and all that. We'll see how long that lasts. Hopefully that will last. But, we do our best with that, and it's easier said than done, unfortunately, in many cases. I don't know. What do you think, Ruckus?
I have an add-on to everything you said. I agree. But there's another obvious reason that most people have forgotten, because we've gotten ourselves so freaking politicized and so stuck inside of our echo chambers. I assume that the person who asked that question may have seen or heard of a little movie called The Matrix, where the main character knows that he's stuck inside the Matrix. Most of the main characters do, the heroes of the film, but they choose to be inside that terrible place in order to help save the other people who are stuck inside that Matrix. By the way, this image is one that I had AI help me make. That's supposed to be me in the image there. I've been trying to make it create a reusable animated character who doesn't look exactly like me, but is supposed to represent me so that people will, when you see it. So if you see this, start seeing pictures with that guy, that's supposed to be me. But this is me inside the Matrix asking the Oracle to speak to the manager, because that's what I would do if I was inside the Matrix. But that's why we go on these platforms, because this is where the fight is, right? We don't need to go like, hey, everybody, we made an exclusive platform where we do nothing but talk about stuff you already know, right? Like, okay, so why do I need to keep being repeated the same stuff over and over again? Again, the aforementioned echo chamber, when it's my next door neighbor. Maybe I should go hang out with my next door neighbor rather than trying to do any of this on social media. Hey, there's a concept, everybody, and take the fight to them, and not like a physical fight, but have a debate, which is what Charlie Kirk and people like him were all about. Like, hey, not less speech, more speech. Hey, you believe this way, I believe this way. Let's talk about it. Instead, like, hey, we all believe this way, so let's all go hang out here. Well, that's great, because if the other side, who doesn't like what you have to say, sees you all hanging out there in that one place together, it's going to be very simple for them to take you all out at once. Right, Hesher? Muted.
Aha. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, I appreciate the questions, and Ruckus and I do talk about this a lot. We just talked about it yesterday, actually. If Discord were to disappear or nuke us, what would we do? And we've got some ideas, some alt technologies out there on blockchains and things like that. So we will keep an eye on that. Frankly, I personally I'm skeptical of why YouTube has changed, and these sort of conversations are now allowed there. It used to be we couldn't even say anything about medical stuff without getting medical misinformation flags and stuff like that. So even under still being under shadow ban, the fact that we can even broadcast on YouTube is amazing. So I don't understand how that works, but I have some good ideas about it.
Maybe it's part of a larger problem. We keep dancing around this one too, but I'm going to come back to it again. Like some of these problems, using air quotes for the listening audience only, are created on purpose so that they have a pre-made solution ready to go. So what if it's all of this stuff is so out of control everywhere about all of this stuff online and the speech and the YouTube, and yes, they're going to allow it, but once they allow it, it's going to get worse, right? Because it's just going to increase because they're allowing it. And like, okay, wow, we were wrong, and here's what we need to do, and just bam, like no longer will YouTube be using human-made content, and it's just everything's going to be switching to AI and technocracy, the government, the politics, your media, entertainment, your news, everything. That's where I really think we're headed with all of this stuff, Hesher.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's going to come down to grid control. It's going to come down to technological control. And a lot of these, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the future of TikTok, with the future of YouTube, the future of Rumble, BitChute. We're on BitChute right now. I don't know how well that company is doing. I hope they're, doing well enough to keep the platform there. I don't see a huge groundswell there. So, there's other ones. There's Odyssey, right? We've had some problems hooking with Odyssey for some reason. They don't make it simple for us to output there. But, we're streaming on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different outbound streams right now. And if we can add more to that, we will. That's something else we're looking into, is making sure that we can get as many outbound streams as possible. So
furthermore, to that point, Hesher, that's the other thing I wanted to mention real quick. Is something I've been tossing around in my head, so I'm just going to throw it out there now. That's what we're used to. We're used to, as us individual, having multiple output streams. We are swiftly moving to a situation where it is it's all coming directly to us, one massive feed, wherever it is, whatever that might look like, because they want to get everybody into this brain chip thing. Like right now, we're used to going to our devices, going to our programs, doing the things, going to YouTube, going to Rumble, going to BitChute, making these choices to go to these various places to then seek out all of these things like our information and our entertainment. Pretty soon, all of that is going to go the other direction. It's all being fed to you, and you're pretty much, I don't see why, why whoever said that we had to be in control. Are we still going to be able to, are we going to be surfing the internet through our brain chip, or is this just going to be like a direct, I think it's going to be a one-on-one thing. It's just like, hi, how are you today? Good. Well, what are you in the mood for? A comedy. Here you go. You know what I mean? I hate to make it sound so utilitarian, but I really think that's where it's headed.
Yeah. The less things you have to think about, the simpler your day is, right? So all that doom scrolling and trying to figure out what you're going to listen to when you go to the gym or mow the lawn or whatever, you're not going to need to worry about all that if you so choose. We're already there. You can go bring up Spotify or Podbean or whatever, and it's got playlists for you of 3-hour long podcasts. You can just hit shuffle on that sucker and 2-speed and whip through a whole bunch of stuff and not have to think about it, and that's where web searching is going too. That's where programming is going. That's where many people's jobs are going. It's just like, well, the system can do it on its own. So, go take a smoke break or go eat some bugs,
I will not.
No. Yeah, so the whole tech and broadcasting aspect, again, thanks for bringing those questions up. We will keep our eyes on it, but yeah, that cancellation factor, it's always there. Like what Lance said here: defunding, debanking, dispossessed, and silenced. I did some minor corrections on that one. I like the way you wrote that, though. It's great. Okay, Ruckus, I don't want to hang too long today, but I did want to bring this one on board and get your comments on it. This is posted on X by one Trisha McLaughlin, who I'm not familiar with, but I thought this was a interesting write-up here. Current events. This was posted yesterday. This morning, during routine patrolling in Broadview, in the same area of Chicago that law enforcement were assaulted yesterday, which would have been the 3rd, our brave law enforcement officers were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. Agents were unable to move their vehicles and exited the car. One of the drivers who rammed the law enforcement vehicle was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. Law enforcement was forced to deploy their weapons and fire a defensive shot at an armed U.S. citizen who drove herself to the hospital to get care for wounds. The armed woman was named in a CBP intelligence bulletin last week for doxing agents and posting online, quote, "Hey to all my gang, let's F those MFers up. I don't let them take anyone." Thankfully, no law enforcement officers were seriously injured in this attack. Pritzker's Chicago Police Department is leaving the shooting scene and refuses to assist us in securing the area. There is a growing crowd, and we are deploying special operations to control the scene. So that's pretty bombastic scenario there. I mean, it certainly seems interestingly timed with everything going on in Portland right now and other places, but I'm smelling smoke here. I don't know if I'm seeing flames, but I'm smelling smoke, Ruckus. You can see what is this? So many questions. This post begs so many questions. Like,
It's just a post too. This is not.
Who's we, and what do you mean we are deploying special operations?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one, Hesher.
And
I don't know.
that woman
I'm
that
comfortable with all of this scenario that they've got the National Guard out there. They've got the ICE with the face masks. People, I mean, they got people being removed from their vehicles and from their homes with hoods over their heads, and we don't know, is that really a foreign national, or was that just some guy that didn't like what the hell they were saying on a radio program somewhere? You know, this is very frightening stuff, dude.
Yeah, and just for some added context, that poster, Trisha McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary, Department of Homeland Security.
So that's why I'm like, is this supposed to be some sort of official statement from this administration? Because I'm confused. Usually that comes accompanied with a nice, slickly produced, like $1 million budget propaganda video with like jets flying overhead and smoke and pyrotechnics, right? So, and then you get something like this. Like, what the F is this? Like, I didn't hear about this in the news. Did you? This is the first time I'm hearing this. Is right here on this program alongside you, Hesher.
And it's been 2 days. It's or yesterday, I guess.
2 days.
It's crazy.
Wow.
And for the Assistant Secretary at Department of Homeland Security to post that is like, oh wow. Okay, so more and more official statements, I suppose, are moving to X. Like the social media posts are just wild right now.
Well, you heard it from our shadow president's mouth, Bibi, that's where it's at. That's where the battle is. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he was not only saying that we are inside of an info war, which where have I heard that before? Alex Jones, right? But are you saying, Netanyahu? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong here. Is social media a weapon? Is that what you're saying? Like we're changing we don't fight with swords anymore. What do we fight? Oh, we fight with TikTok. We fight with X. Whoa, well, hold on there a second, buddy. That's the kind of stuff that if you or I were to discuss that on a program such as this, Hesher, say, oh, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, we would be labeled as being a crazy conspiracy theorist. Of course, today, by noticing it, we're going to be being labeled as anti-Semitic and or possible supporters of terror, and therefore deserve to be arrested in international waters and not given food or water, beaten, potentially raped. Isn't 2025 fun?
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, right? I mean, it's not like we've been sitting here warning against this and predicting this for over a decade on this program. But to see it all unfold is quite staggering. Let's see. I like this comment from Lance here when asking, hey, why? Why are we seeing comments like this? Reasons for coming martial law. I suspect the top brass meeting had some behind the scenes meetings. Lance, you're not alone. You are not alone. Follows
Yeah,
up.
I don't believe for a second when they were like, okay, we're gonna all they closed all these people in a room, and the first thing they said is like, if you don't like anything that we have to say to you right now, tough crap, you're out of here. We will fire you. You will be dismissed. You're gonzo, mister. And I'm like, and then we hear these stories about how they're talking about how like, okay, you got to meet the weight requirements. We don't possibility we might not like women in the middle. All these weird like talking point divisive political left right stuff when I'm like, no, they wouldn't do that unless they're saying, okay, we might need you to shoot American citizens. We might need you to do things that are unconstitutional. And hey, if you don't like that, there's the door. That's what I imagine is going on, Hesher. I can't prove that, but I really have a strong suspicion that those men are and women are being asked to do things that traditionally in the past, not that long ago, would be considered illegal. But, the entire world seems to be completely fine with that since it's been, so desensitized to that. Look what's just happened with the flotilla. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Great comment here from Pat Rivers. Thank you. Update. The woman didn't drive herself to the hospital. She was transported there. I don't have a source for that.
That makes it all better, right?
Right? Like, I don't have a source for that, Pat, but that makes the most sense to me. You really, Trisha McLaughlin at DHS, you really expect the American public to believe that scenario unfolded and then that woman got back in her car and drove herself to the hospital? I mean, what are you doing? Like, did no one check your post? I mean, this is just madness. Oh, yeah, let's let her go. Just let her drive to the hospital. She's been shot. What? Get out of here with that. Yeah, let's see here. Another one from Pat. ICE just shot and killed a man. They lied. They were attacked, but videos proved they were lying. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to have to look into that. But I think this just all is sort of, the harbingers of what's to come here when it comes to National Guard, when it comes to ICE, when it comes to this very strange, I want to call it a manipulated situation, but it's like it has been, but the manipulation is so subversive, so MK Ultra in nature as far as how people's worldviews are meshing with the incoming data. And then there's all these, there of course there's probably Fed infiltrators in a lot of these groups. So you know, it's very difficult to look at this as an organic situation. It's like an organic/inorganic situation. It wouldn't be if it hadn't have been fostered. And it wouldn't be if law enforcement was doing their job in 2020 during the summer of love. It wouldn't be. There would be no need for this. But hey, here we are. So we're looking at National Guard going to Oregon. We're looking at National Guard going to Illinois. DHS highly involved. Clearly, DHS calling in special operations forces when an event like this happens. Okay, and we, the American public, are supposed to what? Just read a comment like that and go, "Yeah, get them." But how'd she get to the hospital again? It's just ridiculous.
A drone came and lifted her up and took her right there, Hesher.
DHS drone. There you go. Medevac DHS drone for their ICE.
See, wait a minute. This is proof that they have not disclosed the fact that they have teleportation technology and they're hiding it from the public, Hesher. This is awful.
Yeah. And the other thing that bothers me about that post, Ruckus, is the 10 cars. What was that? Boxed in by 10 cars. So you're telling me there were at least 10 assailants that boxed in law enforcement officers and rammed them with their cars. And the only thing you can say is that, well, there was a woman with a semi-automatic rifle who, fired at or drew her firearm. I can't remember which it was, but they said armed with a semi-automatic weapon, law enforcement was forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots. Did the woman shoot at them? Who were the other 9 people driving the cars? I mean, there's so many questions, but what do they give us? They give us this like almost like clickbait short narrative that makes very little sense. And I mean, you hadn't even heard about it yet. I hadn't heard about it till I woke up this morning.
It's not ready for prime time. None of this was
None of
or
this.
is ready
All
for
half
prime time.
baked. Yeah.
What's with the big rush? Again, I'll ask. It's almost like the proverbial they know something we don't. Like there's a timeline that they're trying to beat. Like they
Right.
have a deadline to meet, and it just
Yeah.
makes therefore they're being quite sloppy about a number of things that otherwise I think they would be more meticulous and take their time with, because we are dealing with groups and organizations that have nothing more than patience. I mean, that's what they've been known for, historically speaking. So what's with all the mad rush all of a sudden? It makes me really nervous. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, yeah, and we've been saying that in various ways for months now, for quite a long time. Like, why is everything getting the rapid treatment right now, to include, the new events in the news cycle? It's all getting processed so quickly. Let's see here. Zip zap. Judge overruled the Portland National Guard deployment, by the way. Okay, that's very interesting to see. I'm not surprised to hear that. But there's also executive orders being signed by Donald Trump, and there's new decisions coming out in the Supreme Court that are going to limit district judges' abilities to do things like that. So we may just be in the middle of a 4D chess game right here, right now. So I wouldn't expect that to be the end of the story, but I'm glad you dropped us that update.
Those always flip flop. I've noticed that. So Trump says he's going to do something, the judge steps in, and then it's like, nope. Then it's back on, then it's off again. I'm like, dude, everything, all the things,
constant lawfare, and you would think. I mean, Trump said that was something he was going to shut down, but no, constant.
He said he was going to end wars too, Hesher. That's
yeah. We did
Plus,
end 7 of them, right? He's ended 7 in 7 months. I remember him saying it. I forget the list because they were like, "What? I don't know. What are you
and he's
talking
going to
about?"
release some files, and he's going to audit some places.
Oh,
We're going to
yeah.
get all the things, bro. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all good. I think Amanda's cracking a joke here, but she says, "I heard she was a trans Venezuelan." Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Cash App Valhalla Patel will probably come out and say that in the next few hours here.
We found a backpack with an inflatable unicorn costume and a hammer.
Right. You jest, but
oh wait, that was another story. Sorry, my bad. I get confused.
Exactly. Yeah, you jest, but be careful there, Amanda. It might actually happen. It might turn out that way. I mean, oh my gosh.
I jest, but it might manifest.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Albania and Cambodia are no longer at war. Awesome. Okay, good job, Donald Trump.
I think that's the joke, right? Isn't it? There's the one where he keeps saying the wrong country name.
Yeah. Good times. All right, Ruckus. Well, I'm about ready to shut this one down. You got anything else you want to throw out there today?
Actually, I'd leave a question for the viewers to consider as they head home. Drive safely, everybody, on your way back to where you're at. I was just curious. I wanted to ask Basil and Patrick about this, but I think it's just a fun, like, what if exercise. In order to be arrested inside the UK currently, or in the near future, do you need a digital ID? Isn't that a weird question? Anyways, I don't know the answer because I haven't done my research, and all of you should do your research too. So I'm leaving you with one of my favorite quotes: read everything, listen to everybody. Don't trust anything unless you can prove it with your own research. That was, of course, William Cooper. Thank you so much for having me, Hesher. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you, Patrick, for allowing us to run the show in your stead.
100%. Thanks, Ruckus. There goes Ruckus. You can find him at alternatecurrentradio.com. You can also support 21st Century Wire on their support link. We've got the support link in the description box below and on the show page. It's easy to find at 21stcenturywire.com. Same goes for Alternate Current Radio. This is our annual Bills season, so a couple of you have kicked in on that, shouted everybody out, tried my best to shout everybody out on Boiler Room last week. If you missed Boiler Room this week, that's because it happened last night. Show page is up at alternatecurrentradio.com if you want to check it out. Please follow Boiler Room, myself and Ruckus, everybody on the show on all our socials. You can find links to our X accounts and websites, social media, all that good stuff on the show pages. It's been quite a week. It's been quite a week. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, though, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Thanks to everybody in the Discord. Thanks to everyone at 21stcenturywire.com, Alternate Current Radio, the whole team, and you out there in the various locations where we do our best to keep up with you while you send your chats into the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe, do all that stuff. That helps us theoretically defeat some of the shadow banning and unfollowing by the systems that we are trying to broadcast on. We'll see you again next week, and I'll leave you with, let's see, I'll leave you with some Joseph Arthur here. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you again real soon here on Sunday Wire.
Gratitude, the antidote. The world is built on fear. The evil world we live in wants our soul to disappear. But gratitude, salvation, and never ending light that transcends all the darkness trying to hold us to the night. Thoughts say what is missing, thank you says what's here. Thoughts keep us unconscious, thank you makes it clear. Back into the moment, the vast eternal now, where God is always with us and holy like a cow, like a sunrise or a child or a garden full of roses. The mind misses the magic and considers all the poses. Why our thoughts against us, principalities are there, whispering indifference on foundations of despair. So thank you is my mantra, mantra. Na 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 na. Thank you is my mantra, mantra. Who set up this funhouse, this journey for our soul, where most never make it and lose all their control? How do we get back any sovereignty from the lies of demons that we pretend to be? Thank you is a pass to a place outside of hell. Gratitude and presence will lift us where we fell, but we have to make a practice to come back into now, in the garden of our gratitude, and push that ancient plow. I don't know the reason we are in a holy war, how we ever come back to who we were before. Did it start in Eden with an apple and a snake? Since then have we been following with this battle as our fate? So thank you is my mantra, mantra. Na 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 na. Thank you is my mantra, mantra. The world will light us, and so will our minds, so will our minds. Whatever is the reason, this is where we are. The light and the darkness are aiming for our heart. The light wants us present in the clutch of gratitude. The darkness wants us scattered with an evil attitude. And we look at the thinking that justifies the course. We see it's thought itself that brings on the divorce. From the Holy Spirit, from revelations bloom, from the love of God to the darkness of the tomb. Voices of all demons we identify as us, and then we follow lies, the wrong voices that we trust. Take us to destruction, take us to despair, when the gift of God himself has always just been here. So thank you is my mantra, mantra. Na 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 na. Thank you is my mantra, mantra. Thank you is my mantra, mantra. Na 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 na. Thank you is my mantra, mantra. is my mantra, mantra.